devious, underrated horror villains from the VHS era who deserve more love. The horror genre has survived and flourished courtesy of some popular names who scared the wits out of us. With the likes of Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, Hannibal Lecter, and many others, the long list of horror villains has some of the most terrifying characters that you have hated and feared while watching the movies. At the same time, these characters have immortalized themselves as the terror titans who made the film's worth in gold. In this video, we will introduce to you some of these devious horror film antagonists that you absolutely wouldn't want to meet in the dark. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
First, I suggest you get yourself a pen. Class dismissed.
Dr. Carl Hill, Re-Animator, 1985. Based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft, the movie revolves around a medical student, Herbert, who has discovered the means of bringing dead tissue back to life. However, his arch-nemesis, Dr. Hill, is looking to take credit for the discovery and will stop at nothing to get it done. Soon, the reanimation of the dead tissue and some bizarre experiments pose for a nightmarish situation for them. Can the young Re-Animator harness the power of his discovery? The tall and thin David Gale was perfectly suited for the role of the evil Dr. Carl Hill. He had been a distinguished character actor who went on to work in movies like The Guyver, Switch, and many others. In Re-Animator, he plays the role of a cunning brain doctor who blackmails Herbert to hand over his work. Herbert decapitated Dr. Hill and planned to reanimate his body and head separately. One of the most badass moments for Dr. Hill was when he managed to assemble an entire army of zombies who would attack Herbert and the group. However, he appears in the sequel as well, where his demise is ignored in the plotline. His horrifying expressions, the maniacal acting, and the brilliant screen presence is still a cause for a nightmare for many.
You gonna scream? Listen, let me give you a little bit of free advice.
Krug Stillo, The Last House on the Left, 1972. Two teenagers, Marie and Phyllis, are best friends who head to a rock concert. While trying to score some drugs in the city, they end up in the wrong neighborhood where some dangerous criminals brutalize, rape, and murder them. Shortly afterwards, they unknowingly take shelter in Marie's house, where her parents get to know about their sinister acts. Now they are determined to have their revenge with these beastly convicts. The prime antagonist in this film is a man named Krug Stillo, who is the leader of the gang of criminals. He is a ruthless murderer and a rapist, or in simple words, evil beyond your imagination. When he brutalizes the two young girls, you would feel like walking into the movie and smashing his head into some rocks. Despite being an exploitation film in general, this movie will strike some thrilling moments for the adrenaline rush. And how can we forget the satisfying end that he meets when Marie's enraged father chainsaws him alive? This role was essayed perfectly by David Hess, who managed to capture every bit of the rough meanness of the role. The remake version is not as effective simply because David Hess's brilliance is missing. This talented actor braced the screen in several murderous villainous roles during those times.
Oh, that's a good question. Here's the answer.
Dr. Decker, Nightbreed, 1990. When Aaron Boone has repeated nightmares about terrifying monsters, he goes to a psychiatrist, Dr. Decker, who is actually a serial killer. He frames Boone for the murders and gets him killed by the police. But then, something unique happens. The monsters from his dreams, the Nightbreed, bring him back to life. Together, Boone and the monsters join forces to stop Dr. Decker from killing again. You probably know David Cronenberg from his masterful work in body horror flicks as a director who explored horror movies like no other. He shows another dimension of his talent as he pulls off the challenging role of Dr. Decker in this movie. The shroud and cunning serial killer is brought to life through the effortless acting of Cronenberg. Dr. Decker first wins the trust of Boone and soon misleads him into thinking that he is the real murderer. This beastly doctor is a psychiatrist on the outside, but inside he is a crazy killer who derives sexual pleasure from killing. However, he dies a sorry death when Boone transforms into his monstrous form and kills him with his own blade. Till the time he braced the screen, he would make your blood crawl in hatred for his exploits. But isn't that the real success of a horrifying villain? Belial, Basket Case, 1982. Dwayne Bradley is a young man who walks into a motel with a strange basket that carries his surgically removed Siamese twin. The physically deformed twin brother is looking to exact revenge on the doctors who separated them against their will. However, the tables turn when Bradley falls in love with the receptionist at the doctor's office. Now, he must choose between the freaky wishes of his twin brother and his newfound love. Basket Case was a unique movie both in terms of concept and implementation. Such was the craze for the film that it went on to become a trilogy, with 2 sequels following this. Belial was the monstrous mutant with a beastly appearance that seemed more like a crushed octopus than a human. For his deformities, he was surgically removed by the doctors, but he is full of vengeance and rage. The misshapen freak is hidden inside a wicker basket by his brother, who follows his instructions to plot the revenge. However, when Dwayne falls in love, a jealous Belial kills her from the frustration of his inability to rape her. The viewers will loathe this character and will cheer hard when Dwayne tries to kill him, and they fall together from a hotel window. But then, you don't get rid of evil so easily. He comes back in the sequel, where they show that the brothers survived the fall and work together yet again. The special effects that went into the creation of this monstrosity are commendable. It is a reminder of how creativity can make up for the lack of fancy effects back in the day.
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
Okay.
The Tall Man-Phantasm, 1979. In a small quiet town, some mysterious deaths become a cause of headache for the peaceful inhabitants. While investigating the deaths, Mike finds out that the town's mortician, the Tall Man, is killing the people and turning them into deadly zombies. Mike joins forces with Jody and Reggie, and they try to lure out the Tall Man to end his evil ways. However, they must be careful and stealthy so that they can stay clear of the zombies and the deadly Silver Sphere. Just imagine the combination, a mortician who is a scientist and a mass murderer. If you are thinking of a villain with shades of coolness, the Tall Man surely steals the show with his dialogues. True to his name, he is tall in appearance, and the mannerisms like raising one eyebrow have become iconic. He aspires to become the Lord of the Dead, and for that, he relentlessly adds to his zombie army. The character was loved, hated, and feared by the audiences, and the film Phantasm attained cult status. It is not surprising that there were 4 sequels to this movie, and the late veteran actor Angus Scrimm was roped in to play the role in all 4. After all, who else could recreate the magic?
Adam, where are you?
The Mutant Davis Baby, It's Alive, 1974. Frank and Lenore are expecting their second child, but the birth comes as a shock when they discover that the baby is dangerously deformed. It has fangs and claws and attacks and kills anyone. This murderous infant soon becomes a menace, and Frank joins others to hunt it down. But soon he learns that his own wife has been providing shelter to the baby. Can they get the better of this mutated monster? When you think of a conventional villain, a tiny infant wouldn't usually come to mind. This is where the film manages to hit you with the shock value of a deadly baby boy. However, before condemning the character for all the murders, we must mention that he was indeed helpless for his state. As luck would have it, the baby is often frightened. There are some horrifying instances in the film where you see the baby slaughtering people armed with his sharp teeth. The lightning speed and reflexes also make it a deadly predator on the prowl. But unlike some of the other villains in this list, there are times when you would feel bad about the innocent monster. Eventually, the baby is shot by the police. Lord Summerisle, The Wicker Man, 1973. Sergeant Howie arrives on a small Scottish island to investigate the case of a missing child. However, the inhabitants seem to have no clue about the existence of such a girl. Furthermore, the actions of the locals are weird and suspicious, and Howie smells something is wrong with the inhabitants. As the investigation proceeds, Howie soon learns that there is more to the crazy pagan rituals. The people here might be up to something truly evil. Lord Summerisle, the leader of the cult, is only human. He is armed, however, with a killer charm and a great ability to manipulate his victims. In such a wicked role that demands charisma, you could expect no one better than Christopher Lee to fit the bill. The horror film enthusiasts are well versed with his brilliant roles, like playing Dracula for the Hammer Films movies. He also starred in a James Bond film and impressed the fans in several other challenging roles. In this movie, he doesn't appear much for the film. When he does, he steals the show with his immaculate performance as the cunning lord who believes in ancient deities and practices. His ultimate act of sacrifice and the twist in the story will leave you shell-shocked for days to come. Such was the dedication of Christopher Lee for this role that he waived off the fee that he was supposed to receive for his performance.
I know who I am.
That's it, Johnny. Take a good look.
Louis Cyphre, Angel Heart, 1987. Harry is a detective hired by Louis Cyphre to find a missing singer, Johnny Favorite. Every step of the investigation is faced with a hurdle because anybody Harry questions regarding the singer seems to die soon after under mysterious circumstances. As the plot gets thicker, Harry finds out that the singer was involved in black magic, the likes of which bring out deadly consequences. To his horror, Harry also discovers that Cyphre choosing him was also a pre-planned move. Here you have a villain who doesn't seem like one for much of the movie. He comes across as a businessman who wants to know the whereabouts of a famous singer for some personal business. When the time comes for you to realize that Louis Cyphre actually stands for Lucifer and he is the devil himself, you are bound to sit up straight and take a few moments to let the shock sink in. There are some jaw-dropping twists in the plot that will keep you hooked onto the movie. But one of the best things about this horror thriller is the performance of Robert De Niro as Louis Cyphre. You always expect something special from the maestro who aced classics like Godfather 2, Casino, Taxi Driver, and many others. He does not disappoint and is every bit as menacing as Satan should be. You could watch this movie simply for the sake of the screen time that Robert De Niro enjoys. Frank Zito, Maniac, 1980. At the root of most serial killers is a traumatic childhood. The story of Maniac is no different, where we find a troubled psychotic man on the loose in New York City. He kills like it is a sport and takes the scalps of his victims as the prize. When he befriends a photographer named Anna, he is shaken up. Is this where he stops his killing spree? Is she the one he has been looking for to fill the void? The scariest thing about Frank Zito is just how relatable he is to the people you see every day around you. He is just another loner who lives as the landlord of an apartment complex. His shocking secret of life, however, throws in a surprise when you learn about his maniacal killings. His interactions with Anna are so creepy that you're about to cringe in anticipation. The scenes where he is about to kill Anna will give you the chills. The movie does not offer a conclusive climax that would put your doubts to rest because they keep you in the dark regarding the fate of Frank Zito. A remake version was made in the year 2012, and for both movies, some amazing actors were cast in the role. The version saw the late Joe Spinell take up the responsibility, while the remake version was handled by Elijah Wood. Joe was particularly brilliant in this role and put forth the expressions with great perfection. Pumpkinhead, 1988. A hit-and-run accident killed a young boy, and his vengeful father summons the evil demon Pumpkinhead to exact his revenge on a few teenagers. Trouble starts brewing when he realizes that the demon is forming a strange connection with him. It soon becomes a fight between him and the evil creature that starts off on a murderous rampage. Can Pumpkinhead be stopped before it is too late? This slasher horror flick was so popular back then that it sparked 2 sequels that were never in the league of the first. Despite not being a commercial success, it attained a cult status, and even today the fans regard the efforts highly. The titular monster was summoned to fulfill the grudge of a bereaved father. But soon he tries to attack the demon only to realize that the demon is becoming a part of him. Pumpkinhead looks terrifying, and the scene where a clawed hand seizes and drags away one of the girls will make you scream out loud. The effects were spot on, but were no match for the performance of Tom Woodruff Jr. Even under the piles of makeup and costume, he delivered the goods, making this movie such a cult hit. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.